Good morning. Hello and welcome everybody to the webinar Building Teams Focus on Innovations. My name is Pavel Kapstorfer and I am Network and Partnership Manager of Microfinance Center, and I will moderate today's webinar. In today's business environment, building the innovative potential of every organization becomes a must. All organizations will have to adapt, and every leader needs to understand what it takes to prepare teams for this challenge. We would like to talk today about the catalysts of innovations, fundamentals of innovations, and what management practices need to be in place for the innovation deployment. As a result of the webinar, you should get better perspective on how you and your teams should deal with day-to-day innovation practices and challenges. The webinar is organized as a part of MFC activities under SIFTA project. Let me talk now about our plan and also housing rules for today's webinar. It is planned for about 90 minutes. That will include presentation from our expert speaker, few polls, and we have also space for questions and answers. The webinar is going to be recorded. We invite you to keep your cameras on, but please keep your microphones muted. My colleague, Joanna Zhukowska, will be assisting you through chat with any technical issues and make sure our session will go smooth. In case you would like to pose the question or comment, please do it via chat or raise your hand. You can do that through dashboard under button reactions, and I will invite you to unmute and speak. At the end of the webinar, when you leave the webinar, we would very much appreciate if you could stay engaged for additional 1 to 2 minutes to fill out our survey to evaluate the webinar. It is very important for us to receive your feedback, and the survey will open on your screen when you leave the webinar. It is a pleasure to introduce our expert speaker for today, Tomasz Klekowski. As agreed, I'm going to say only very briefly about Tomasz, as he will introduce himself in more detail. Tomasz is Executive Advisor for Digital Transformation, and he has a lot of experience in advising to boards, industry organizations, governments, universities, and societies. Let me also put your attention on upcoming events we plan under SIFTA, and 2 interesting webinars are coming up already next week. On Tuesday, we organize a webinar on digital marketing, and on 12th October, this will be a continuation of the previously organized webinar on ESG, and details of both webinars of the content of the webinars can be reviewed on our website. For those who don't know yet, I will try to give you a very brief explanation of SIFTA. SIFTA project brings continuity to EASY Technical Assistance Program, European Investment Bank under Invest EU Advisory Hub, reinforces the European microfinance and social enterprise finance sectors, and provides support to microfinance and social enterprise finance providers under this window, social skills, social investment and skills. And the support is given through tailored trainings, workshops, webinars, peer-to-peer exchanges, study visits, on wide range of topics related to financing micro and social enterprises. The project also delivers ratings, assessment, and evaluation services provided by MFR. The project is eligible for applicants from European Union countries, 27 countries, and initial time frame of this initiative is until December 2024. The beneficiaries are microfinance providers, and social enterprise finance providers. The technical assistant team responsible for the market development activities and capacity building services consists of a consortium, which is led by Frankfurt School of Finance and Management, and its partners, the Microfinance Center and the European Microfinance Network. For the rating, assessments, and evaluation services, the partner within consortium is Microfinanza Rating. In case you would like to learn more about the initiative, about this program, please follow up on this link, which is mentioned here, or QR code. And if you would like to apply, you are welcome to apply through the EIB email at sifta@ib.org. So thank you very much for the attention with this general introduction. And now I would like to give the floor to Tomasz to share his presentation and experience. Tomasz, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pavel. So
I will stop sharing my presentation, and please
so hello
start
everyone.
To share yours.
Yes, I will be sharing in a moment. I just want to say good morning, good afternoon. I'm very happy to talk to you. I had an opportunity and privilege to run sessions for the MFC a couple of years ago. It was back in 2021. Since that time, well, a lot of things accelerated even more. However, back in 21, we saw that, well, there is a lot of things going on, and probably it's hard to imagine that we can live in more turbulent times. Definitely today we can say, yes, we are living in even more turbulent times. So from that perspective, innovation is absolutely critical because it helps to build the adaptation potential to the environment and, well, to run ahead of our competition in this environment. So let me start sharing my my presentation. Okay. So please tell me if you can see my screen.
Yes, everything looks fine. Please proceed.
Okay, very, very good. So let's move let's move forward a little. So today we are going to talk about building teams which are focused on innovation. And as I already said, right, the innovation is one of the fundamental elements of adaptation and building organizational capabilities which allow to get the market share, to build the proper market position, and to stay ahead of competition. And given the times we are working, that's absolutely critical. Yeah, we passed a pandemic, which already accelerated business big time, and the changes in the way how businesses deliver their value. Then we went through acceleration of digital transformation, which has been focused by a number of factors, including rapid development of artificial intelligence. And from the geopolitical perspective, we also entered a very turbulent situation in Europe following the conflict, military conflict between Russia and Russian aggression on Ukraine. So, as Pavel introduced me, my name is Tomasz Klekowski. I spent 20 years in corporate career focusing on development of market from perspective of technology adoption. I worked in Central Eastern Europe. I worked in EMEA. I have had teams located in like 12 countries, covering over 20 markets. It gives me some foundation and some network and contacts, allowing me to understand the diversity of the region and it also helps me to understand what is the trajectory and the pace of adoption of some technologies, some solutions. And here you can be a bit surprised, while some market practices are sometimes a bit different between the countries, and there are some differences between countries which are very mature and maturing. Then in case of companies pioneering with some things, there is much less delay, and I can see that some phenomena are happening and some pilots, trials referring to technology applications are happening relatively quickly across the board. So following my corporate career, I started working as independent person, giving a bit back to society. I work with a number of organizations and institutions. I spent quite a lot of time on education, developing different educational programs. Probably the biggest one is business AI studies, which are studies focused on applications of artificial intelligence. So it's not the technical stuff, but basically how we benefit from using different AI solutions and how to prepare organization for implementation of such technology. I also work with companies, primarily with boards and director level, helping them to navigate across digital transformation and helping companies to build capabilities, organizational capabilities supporting or enabling digital transformation. Because very often it's not the problem of the technical solutions. The biggest challenge companies have is how to prepare people from perspective of collaboration skills, from perspective of understanding of the process, change management for changes which are brought with application of new technological solutions. So I work with different sectors and segments of the market. I work quite a lot with energy sector, with automotive, with telecommunication, and with finance. So today we are going to talk about three areas. So first of all, we will take a look at innovation fundamentals, and this is kind of the basic and foundations for the further part of the presentation. Then we'll be looking more into catalysts of innovation. So what can we do to accelerate innovation? Because innovation is not something which is very easily to be processed, to be built, to be programmed. This requires a little bit art and a little bit of I would say conscious approach to create an environment which allows innovation to flourish. And the third is more focused on building teams, on what managers can do and how managers can create such environments which enables accelerated pace of innovation. So I would like to start with Paul. So first of all, giving you an opportunity to show how much familiar you are and how advanced you are in regards to the work on innovation development. And basically, what I would like to ask you is to answer the question, and this is a single. This is the single answer, which is a single choice question, where basically I would like to understand to what extent you already manage innovation programs, or you participate in innovation, or you do this occasionally, or you just see and hear information about such activities happening, or which also can be the case, you are not currently involved, which I hope is going to change. So if you, so Pavel, if you could bring the poll to the screen, and we will give like 1-2 minutes for the participants to answer. Okay, so right now we can see like a very interesting distribution. Okay, so like oh, very good. Oh, very good. That's a very interesting picture. I hope everyone can see the screen, almost
I
80%.
just share it, so I don't know. Hopefully you see it all.
So we can see a very even distribution. Which is interesting because basically it says that we have people which already have quite a lot of experience, and we have also people which are about to start their involvement, and we have also the people who are in the middle. So. Um, we do not have a big group, so if you have any questions, please raise them on chat or stop me while I'm talking, and then we may have some discussions, especially that we have some people which already manage innovation programs or regularly participate in such programs, so they have their perspective to share. Okay, so let's move forward. So thank you very much for sharing what is your experience with innovation. So, okay, let me go. So first of all, let's take a look what are the fundamentals of the innovation, right? Because as I said, it's not easy to program innovation, and it's completely impossible to force innovation. So what is the cornerstone of the innovation? And basically, I believe it's very deeply rooted in things like culture, in things like behaviors which company supports, and attitude of everyone in the organization, starting from the management, because basically, it is very important to be role model in terms of supporting innovation, to be role model in terms of building open culture, allowing people to express their ideas, which at the very beginning are usually not perfect. They are not fully structured, and people need to feel secure, safe, and trusted if they take the step going out of their comfort zone, and when they come with the new ideas, and obviously they need to be welcomed, and then later on supported by the following processes. Then the second element of which creates the foundation for innovation, it's knowledge and understanding. As I briefly already have said, we are living in the world which is changing very, very quickly, and one of accelerators is technology. And basically, technology is developed, bringing quite a lot of new approaches, new use cases, new organization of processes. So basically, it is required from everyone to understand the current world, and to understand what's happening within his or her area of work. And this requires education. We used to live in the world where we had more time for adaptation, we had more time for development of our knowledge, and to some extent we could do it organically, just meeting people, participating in the conferences, and it was more or less enough. Maybe from time to time, every 10, 15 years, we had some additional courses, and we believed that that's enough to create the foundations from perspective of knowledge and understanding in development. Um, I think, and what I can observe is that right now it's changing. So the change is accelerated, the scope of impact accelerated, and I can see different behaviors of people who are in the market. I told you I'm running post-diploma studies. I participate, or I'm the lecturer on the studies on several universities, and what I can hear from students, and these are post-diploma students, so basically people with 10, 15, 20 years of experience, their feedback is very consistent. The scale of changes, which is in the world right now, requires more structured approach and requires more frequent verification or rebuilding the skills, to the extent that many people think of phenomena which we can call one career, second career. So basically, they start working in one area in some time, and they can see that they need to migrate their skill and competencies to another area and to create some synergies between the two. So this element of building knowledge and understanding is by far more profound and requires more structured approach. So first of all, it requires what you do, and which is absolutely role model approach, like a regular updates in terms of what is happening in your segment, what is relevant for your work. But it would be worth also to think of some greater elements of education which can help us to understand and to do the recheck where we are with development of our career, where we are with the development of our skills, and if this requires some more structured approach. And I even can hear people saying that we used to have like an approach that we were completing the higher education, then we were thinking of once in career of kind of the post-diploma studies, and it was enough. Right now, I can hear people saying every 5 or every 10 years, or some extreme cases every 5 years, people need to rethink of some additional greater extent of education. So, okay, so basically we have the culture, we have the knowledge, which also requires this interdisciplinary approach and perspective. And on top of this, we need to organize processes. And that's very important, because if we just leave things to unrestricted ideas and unsupported ideas, even if they are based on interdisciplinary approaches, bringing ideas from other segments, it's not enough to make them working. And to help them working and growing, we need to put in place dedicated processes. And in the next slide, we will go through the elements which support all of the 3 levels of the pyramid. So the culture, behaviors, and attitude, knowledge, and of course the understanding, because you need to put the knowledge into the working structure, and processes which you may build and support within your teams and within the company, to make sure that you create the environment which allow to utilize the innovative ideas brought by employees and managers, so workers of the company. So first of all, it's one of the last, let's say, slides creating some foundation for the further part of the presentation. So what is the innovation definition? I'm not going through the definition itself, but I would like to focus on a couple of things which are very common across many definitions. So first of all, it's having an idea. But having idea is absolutely not enough. And there is the second important element, is executing the idea. So converting an idea into action, and the action which addresses a real challenge. And so when it addresses a real challenge, it's very probable it adds value to the company, it adds value to customer, and there is some element of novelty. So it needs to be a little bit different. And well, basically this is important. However, it not necessarily means that the approach must be 100% new. Very often, innovations are just the transfer of approaches or redefinition of the approach which is already used in another segment of the market in different industry. Okay, so let's move forward. I will take a look at the chat. What have we here? Okay, it's still about more information about the program. Okay, so let's move forward. Okay, I need to click on the screen. Okay, good. So very often when we talk about innovation, people think, okay, innovation, it is something which is tangible. It's a new product, it's a new software. So there are only few companies which can allow innovation. And basically, such thinking would restrict our approach and would restrict our potential, because we need to talk at innovation, which is happening across the board in a number of other areas. So obviously, there are things like product innovation, but from perspective of the segment where where you work and where we collaborate, by far more important are process innovations, service innovations, and business model innovations. And I looked at a couple of examples of such innovations to show you what are the differences, and also to show you examples which show how big value you can create with these innovations which are going beyond the product one. So first of all, let's take a look at the process innovation, and imagine times or imagine the factory, and imagine the times when factories were building like a very big resources. They big very big warehouses for components, and then Toyota started doing the just-in-time approach, which created a very different setup from perspective of efficiency of running the factories, and helped Toyota to be by far more adaptive to the market, working closer with their suppliers. And it helped Toyota to become one of the biggest automotive companies in the market. Another example is logistics and change in process of bringing or collecting the goods from the warehouses, and the use of robotics changed, which is the process innovation, changed a lot the way how efficient logistics is. And right now, it's absolutely norm that you enter in the huge warehouse and you can see no light. You can see not a single person going between between the racks where different products are stored, and everything is done by robots. So the robotic warehouses make by far better use of energy, by far better use of space, and are definitely much faster and make more mistakes than the traditional warehouses. If we take a look at the service innovation, so here is how something can be offered in a very different way. So let's take a look at the streaming services for music and movies versus traditional ways of content delivery. So the content delivery changed, and right now things like if we take take at music, things like Spotify, Tidal, this is the predominant way of consuming the music, and long plays or CDs basically are just the hobby stuff which just a small fraction of people uses. Of course, the same when we take a look at the way how we consume the movie. So Netflix, Disney Plus, and so on. They are changing the way how movies are consumed right now. If we take a look at the business model, when we innovation in business model innovation, the product basically stays pretty much the same. What changes, it is how we offer the product and how we collect value from the product. And here the best example is shifting the cars from, or shifting the business model for using cars from owning the car to renting this, which basically takes a lot of headaches from us and leaves the headaches in terms of organizing service, the whole purchase, after sales support, then repurchase when we don't want to use the old car anymore. This transfers all of that burden to the company which offer the rent or offer the leasing, while we just use the car. Another element is the software, which is coming free, and we use the same software, but there are some elements of ads added to the screen, to the user interface, and there are some options for example, freemium or premium usage, where we pay some small money for accessing additional features of the product. When we take a look at the financial industry, so of course, from perspective of the process innovation, the whole transition to online banking and mobile banking is a perfect example. The whole banking process migrated from offline world to online and increased massively efficiency. Another examples of process innovation, this is, for example, automated underwriting with usage of digital technologies, with collection a lot of data, with building some interconnects between the different sources of data. So not only the data which we have in our company, but also the data which are available in other organizations. We can create the models and the algorithms which basically recheck and evaluate things like, for example, risk connected to underwriting, and this speeds up the whole process massively. And this can be also organized in a very, very simple way. So recently I saw the presentation from the company which offers the insurance for cars, and basically to get the tailored offer for the specific person, you just need to do two things, which is basically to give the registration number of the car, and to give your personal identification number. And everything else is done by the systems which connect between each other in the background, and within 5-10 seconds come back with the calculation of the premium. So the whole process is automated, and the whole process runs behind, and is a connection between resources and information of very many companies. So from efficiency of time, from the level of personalization, that's really a great innovation. Another thing, or evolution in finance, which is in regards to some systems which you can observe, is the growing use of artificial intelligence. And definitely things like fraud detection systems, which are based on AI pattern recognition capabilities, are one of the best examples of process innovation. When we take a look at service innovation, these are things which go deeper into the way how services are delivered. And here in the financial world, the good examples are peer-to-peer lending, right? So lending platforms which allow groups of people having some resources, financial resources available to offer these resources for use by other people, and platforms are just do the work of being intermediary between these two groups. Another example of the service innovation is open banking, where different institutions with single login can offer their services under one umbrella, which allows greater personalization, which allows access to greater scope of services by the user, which goes just to one single financial institution. Now, so this is about nature of innovation. So what types of innovations we have, right? So summarizing, we have the product and the process. Usually they are very much oriented towards some technological solutions. And we have also innovations which go to the service, so how service is constructed, and also how a business model works. However, these changes also differ from perspective of the scale and impact on the company. And we have 3 different levels of innovation. And it's worth to understand the differences, because later on they help us to understand how can we support these innovations, because they require a little bit different different approach. So first of all, we have like incremental innovation, which is the one which is like a small, and I will describe this later, but it's like a small improvement, let's call this. Significant innovation, it's a greater innovation. So what I have described before, giving you examples, these are either significant innovation or radical innovation. And significant innovation allows bigger change in the company and how company works, while radical innovation creates a huge change on the market level. So from the examples which I gave you before, I would say things like open banking. This is an element of significant innovation, while, for example, introduction of streaming services for music and for movies, it is the element of radical innovation, because basically it changes the whole structure of the market from perspective of content delivery. So what is very important, radical innovation is very difficult to program, right? It's very difficult to say, okay, I would like to develop the idea which will change the whole world. That's possible, and there are people who have the potential for doing this, but it's not easy to be programmed. But what we can do commonly, it's to create it, the foundations for, or to create the structures for efficient execution of incremental innovation and significant innovations, and create opportunities and better chances for emergence of radical innovation. So let's take a look at the comparison of incremental and significant innovation. But maybe before I go there, I would like to check if anyone has any questions or comments. Okay, good. So let's move.
Yeah, maybe Tomasz, I would invite our participants to share. How do they see, their organizations, their institutions, whether they found themselves in the metrics. Huh? I mean, if they have been witnessing any type of innovation as you described just now. Would be interesting to hear.
So yeah, so can anyone give an example of innovation which has been recently implemented in one of the organizations from MFC Group?
Okay, let the people think, and while you continue
Can you
with your
hear me?
Oh,
Yes,
super.
we can.
Hello, my name is Andrei. I have a social enterprise in Romania. Our main activity is advertising outdoor on a digital display. We are doing this manually. So we have, let's say, a stick inside the displays, and we control manually the advertising and spots from home. But we want to implement some software where companies can they can go and on our website and place automatically the advertising spots on our display. So an innovation where they can automatically do, so we have more time to develop the business.
Oh,
If
that's
this
great.
is a good example.
That's a very good example. That's
Thank
a
you.
perfect example of the process innovation and which leads to service innovation. So a very, very good one.
The name is programmatic digital out of home.
Very good. Very good. Perfect.
Thank you, Andre.
So
Thank you.
let's go. I need to. Okay, so let's go to comparison of different types of innovations. Let's take a look at incremental innovation and significant one. So first of all, incremental innovation comes very often from inside of the organization. So people working on some processes, they can see that they are not perfect, that there are the new tools, maybe they have some new capabilities. So they come with the ideas how to make a small improvements. And that's a very popular thing happening often, very often supported by existing programs. And inside the engineering companies, this culture of developing, gathering, and executing such small innovations, such improvements is absolutely well established. And other organizations can very often learn from what's happening within the factories, within engineering companies. Sometimes incremental innovation can be a copy of existing solutions. So I can see something working in one company, I can bring it to my company, and it helps to be more efficient. And like looking for inspirations for incremental innovation in the same segments and around is something which we should be regularly doing. From perspective of the value which this creates, it's usually not huge, but the value comes from aggregation of many small changes. I talked to one of the factories from perspective of efficiency of organization of their production line, and they said that in the course of 2 years, the output of the factory line increased like between 25 and to 30%, just based on the little incremental innovations. So 20 or 30% is a big number, right? But it came from dozens of changes, not from one which has a big impact. As I said, these improvements are limited, or there are small modifications. Usually they are easy to implement, and this implementation doesn't require cross-organizational change. It can be done within the small department, within a part of the system, within part of the process. So there are low barriers for for implementation, and it looks at the local perspective. So basically, it refers to one part of the process, one machine, one tool set. There is like one person working in one area to make it, and one person is absolutely capable to do this properly. When we take a look at significant innovation, very often it comes from outside, or it has like a greater level of novelty. It has a bigger influence on value creation and requires a greater change in the way how company is organized. So to implement significant innovation, we need more than work on process, engineering, or product, right? So it can't be done with, I don't know, the product line support people only, or with IT folks only. It requires also some changes in the way how processes are run wider across the organization. And sometimes the changes in the processes, or very often actually, lead to organizational changes. So if we would like to get the full value or proportional value from the significant innovation, we need to follow up implementation of that innovation with the changes within organization. So I will give you an example. So so let's take call center. We add next to the call center chat, which is supported by chatbot. And first of all, it is a big improvement because we right now can support customers 24 hours, 7 days per week. We can do this faster, and we can scale this, and there are the numbers easily, so it's not limited to the number of agents which we have in the call center. But very often it leads to the situation where we may shift some resources from the call center somewhere else, or basically introduction of the chatbot allows shift of the resources, because it doesn't make sense to keep the same number of people if they just support by far less work. It can be that, so first of all, some of the agents will be doing more the work which is more quality, focusing on greater value, but some agents can migrate to other processes or other organizations, or we do not need to grow the organization. So basically, if we invest in such type of innovation, we should also understand that it requires the changes. It doesn't make sense to invest in something which applies innovation, the significant innovation, leaving everything else the same. It's a waste. And very often here comes the natural resistance for the change. And this is one of the elements which we need to address while developing and implementing significant organizations. So they are more difficult to implement from this organizational perspective. They are not so easy to program and forecast, because this level of novelty, it's not guaranteed that we will have it like year by year, quarter by quarter, and it requires a strong org culture, because the changes which are happening across the board, they require greater trust, they require greater communication, some agility, flexibility of structures. So here, the work needs to be done by the whole organization, with huge involvement of managers and HR department. So those who program and engineer the organization. So while incremental organization is run by the hard topic engineers, right? Significant innovation requires those who are product engineers, software engineers, and those who are organizational engineers, HR and management. And this teamwork of the two is very important because we need to take a look at the company as the whole. So we need to have this systemic perspective. So the significant innovation requires the systemic view. So how different elements come together and come into interactions. Now, when we take a look at how innovation emerges, we can see 3 stages. The first one is ideation, the second one is incubation, the scaling. Ideation is how idea is created. Incubation is how this gets some weight, how we may verify this, how we can add some interconnections. And the scaling is when we are ready to implement it, to make sure that to integrate this into our organization, to get the scale, to get the value, and to bring the change. So let's take a look at catalysts of innovation, which are especially important from perspective of ideation, right? So what are the fundamentals in this area? And here there are 3 groups. The one is connected to the way how we think and how we support and incentivize thinking. The second is more focused on behaviors, and I would say that this area traditionally is like the best supported across organizations. And the third element is the inspirations, is this element of knowledge or the information which we should gather, right? And actually they need to work together, because we may have like some good attitudes, because behavior connects to attitudes, but we do not have some structured thinking. We do not support enough creativity. So we will be in a nice atmosphere, trying, but probably without required results or expected results. We may spend a lot of times on thinking, developing, creating. So from the perspective of creativity, we will be fine. We will have the proper base from behaviors. But if we do not have the information or the knowledge, what is done somewhere else, we may be like copying some things, reinventing the wheels. Like spending the effort in unnecessary areas. And I can see, for example, a lot of startups making this mistake. So they encounter some problems and they try to attack them by themselves, and they are developing some solutions to it, while these solutions are already developed. They exist somewhere in the market, and it's by far easier and faster to get the inspiration or to get some components or to get some products from somewhere else and move to the next level of development of and execution of their idea. So putting these 3 together is absolutely critical, right? So you can't focus on cognitive thinking, develop on support. You can't focus just on behaviors. You just can't focus on inspirations. These 3, they need to work together. So let's take a look at some specific things which we need to do in terms of first of all, cognitive thinking. So the first element is creativity, right? So there are some techniques and there are some approaches which help people to free the mind and to focus on development of new ideas. So, well, design thinking is one of them. The brainstorming. There are the companies which create some environments where people come and play. So for example, Jaguar Land Rover or 3M, they have some dedicated rooms where people may draw something, put something out of some physical components, because at this level of creativity, it is very important to allow some interactions between thinking and some manual activities. So very often people get the ideas when they manually do something. So because it is about like opening the different channels in the brain and opening the interactions between them. So this requires like a focus, devotion, and this element of different interactions. Forward thinking is the way of the thinking which we take from like not where we are, but how we imagine the end state. How something should work in long time or in some time from now, when everything is gonna be perfect. And then from that vision of the future, we may bring things, connections. We can decouple the idea into smaller elements, and then the layer after layer with more elements of the solution, with more details, we can draw this down. The critical thinking is it is like bringing different perspectives, using some tools, using the data. So basically, it is about like testing and anchoring the thinking within within like a existing reality. And holistic systemic thinking is about adding the elements of the big picture, adding the elements of like greater knowledge, bigger changes. So looking at not at the only local perspective, only limited area, but thinking of the bigger changes. So an example, when we do some planning, when we do some analysis, we may use some elements of like a strategic thinking, like a Porter Plus model, which allows to understand the interactions of the market forces and allow us to understand where the whole market is going, right? And so within, when we take a look at Porter Plus, we will see interactions between things like substitutes, newcomers, complementators, technology, customers, channel, regulations, and so on and so forth. So this will allow us to take a look at the greater interactions between things, and then this will allow us to identify the right problems, and then we may turn on the other elements of the thinking to look for ideas for what we want to improve, change. From perspective of behaviors, working on elements like communication, learning orientation, collaboration, change orientation, well, practicing test and learn and experimenting approaches. These are the elements which are relatively common. Risk acceptance and failure acceptance is harder, especially in our Central European cultures, to build and to support, because we are we want to move faster. We want to be more perfect, and I can see that comparing to some Western European cultures or American one especially, here we need to work more. But I can see also that the younger part of the society is by far better with things like risk acceptance and failure acceptance, and agility, which is like an ability to change quickly, to change the assumption, to modify things while moving forward, is absolutely fundamental behavior as well. So all of the well, we all hear about like agile methodologies for software development, but agility as the strategic and operational concept has the same potential, is just less popular in the, let's say, general narrative. From perspective of knowledge, And so it is important to learn, to gather knowledge, to get with to make interactions and get interactions with some scientific institutes, with people working in some universities. So to allow the flow of knowledge, hard knowledge based on science. We also can get the information from our own R&D, or we can establish our own R&D. We can, with a structured approach, analyze other markets and segments. We may, in structured approach, get customer feedback. We may do competition analysis, and we may collaborate with startup ecosystem, which will be doing for us these elements of like market monitoring, looking for ideas, testing some things, and bringing already with more predefined, verified value elements. So important thing is that when we think of supporting innovation, we need to support activities in all of the three areas. While traditionally, I can see relatively good support for the behaviors, less support for cognitive thinking, and less support for the element of knowledge. From perspective of incubation, right? We got the idea, and now what can we do in regards to incubation? So it is important to go quickly to practical verification of assumptions. We also need to understand that usually the idea requires multiple iterations. And we need to have patience for this. We need to give it some time. We need to understand that the first version usually is not perfect. At the very beginning, we may have the idea also very often too complex and a little bit messy. So going towards simplification of idea is very important in the stage of incubation. This is where we go the minimal viable product, something which we can relatively quickly give to the customer, not as the fully developed product, but as the mock-up and concept to verify. If the initial customer feedback is very good, this is what we can do further. And this is the lean startup methodology, or the tool is like a very good one describing this approach. During the incubation, it is important also to set some hard metrics, because we will love our idea, but we need to be conscious and disciplined to set some metrics which will give us an ability to evaluate if the project and if the idea delivers the value or does not. So making the definition of metrics, which are like go, no go for further scaling, it is very important for the incubation space. Also, gathering internal and external feedback is very important. This is where also MVP idea is useful, and the management involvement. And managers can add some perspective, some systemic perspective. They can also see some opportunities for scaling, and they may prepare the ground for further scaling. So at the level of incubation, we should work in a couple of areas. So on the product itself, towards simplification and practical verifications, allowing multiple iterations, we should go and get the feedback inside and outside, and we should prepare organization for the scaling, which goes to management involvement. From perspective of the tools, Lean Startup is the one methodology, very simple. Lean Launchpad, it's like an evolution of lean startup. It goes beyond idea generation and verification of the model. It goes towards business model. It goes towards further development. It already assumes some thinking regarding the scaling of the the idea. And the same business model canvas, it's focused less on the product, but it is a very disciplined approach to defining the go-to-market for the product, the whole value chain for the product, interconnects between other elements of the ecosystem. So like from let's say complexity perspective and the position with the chain of development of innovation, the easiest and first comes lean startup, then lean launchpad, then business model canvas. And I'm not going to go through these models because they are relatively straightforward, and you may find plenty of information about them. Scaling tips. When you want to scale, you can scale this inside in the organization, obviously. But you also can think from the very beginning about doing this in partnership, which helps to share risk, to open the idea to greater verification, but also helps to leverage the potential of the other part of organization, other element would just be university or whatever. So we should look for the partners which allows us to go further and beyond our company, beyond our department. Very often, if we need an innovation, and if we would like to scale this later on, we may even not develop the whole idea, but we may look around and go through acquisition. And acquisitions are quite efficient way of working on innovation, but organizationally, it's quite complex because acquisition brings a lot of challenges connected to the way how two organizations work together. But from perspective of like skills transfer, from perspective of like bringing experience regarding new process, new product, new idea, it's very efficient to get it from outside. It saves time. And it definitely decreases risk of development. So very often when some companies are like behind the competition, through acquisition, they can, if acquisition is properly executed, they can close the gap or even jump ahead. However, big challenges from perspective of integration of the cultures, processes, and the other elements of acquisition integration. Now, culture, right? What is critical? What is critical for the culture? So, if we want people to innovate, and innovation is not restricted to R&D. Innovation should be open for everyone. Everyone needs to be properly supported, and we need to create environment in which people feel safe to innovate. And there are several things which we need to cover. I covered them in my previous trainings about like building the strong and cohesive teams, developing the organizational potential. So here I'm not going to go very deeply into this, but I would like just to like bring them back and to put them into the spotlight. So first of all is about managers and setting the tone. Very often what I can see and I can experience regularly, monthly, with my engagements with customers, I can see that middle management very often is against innovation, even if not verbally, but from perspective of what people do. what managers do, and they try to limit the change, protect the status quo, and not support some new ideas happening. Because they believe it's too complex, they believe this brings too much burden to what they do. They would like to focus on things which are working, and they don't want to touch this. And they also do not have enough knowledge. They don't want to lose control, or they don't want to open this internal discussion regarding the organizational changes, which may be the required follow-up to implementation of some innovation. So it is absolutely critical to work with the middle management to make sure that this very important part of the organization is part of the solution and not part of the problem. And this is also one thing which every single middle manager should keep in mind, that they need to understand if they are really part of the solution or if they are part of the problem. And when I worked at Intel, once there was a bigger organization which was introduced with a couple of sentences, and I remember them after 15 years plus, because they were so symptomatic, showing that challenge of the organization. So this lack of flexibility and kind of the innovation approach of middle management. The reorganization was called SET. I don't remember the abbreviation, but it was introduced by the following words. SET is intended to remove the layer between management and those who do the work. So make sure that you are not the layer, and you are not limiting the flow and the value creation between those who do the work, those who come with ideas, and the management, who is maybe not always perfect, right? But basically, I can see that sometimes, at least from the perspective of declaration, these people would like to change something, which later on is more difficult. The second thing which is worth to mention, that the requirement of setting the tone for the change and for innovation applies the same way to higher echelons of the organization, right? So, well, leaders have the same or even greater challenge regarding their behaviors, their attitude, and their approach to setting the tone. An element of the solution is acceptance of the change. And basically, if we do not change things which we do relatively often, we are at risk. And this acceptance of the change is something which we need to learn and practice. And in my career, I was changing the job initially every 2 years, more or less. Later on more complex positions, it was five plus. But I can well, and I believe that this is like something which is necessary. I don't believe that there can be or it is very rare that we may see people doing the same job over 20 years and being the same hungry for innovation, developing with the same pace, and making bigger and bigger value. The critical element of the change is culture, right? Because culture creates the foundation for actions of people without the direction. When we know what we need to do, when we know what are the values in the company, when we know what are the behaviors, when we know what are the goals, we can make plenty of decisions by ourselves. But this element of which allows us to take initiative, these elements of open doors policies, when we can raise our voice, when we can bring ideas, when we may learn from going across the organization. This requires the culture which is open and which supports innovation. When we have such a democratic culture, we may think of management process democratization with empowering teams, with increasing the adaptation, with pushing more responsibility and actual work down to people in the organization, to employees. And the best manager, or I call this nirvana stage for the manager, is when people solve majority of the problems by themselves and the manager can be focused just on developing the business for the future. The next element is engagement in the building. So working on initiative, communication, motivation, and that's and recently it's even more important because with proliferation of remote work, with proliferation of kind of the freelance collaboration, the elements of building cohesion and engagement between teams is absolutely critical. Of course, innovation support from the process is important because people need to do people need to know what to do with the ideas which they have, test and learn, and external focus, which is about bringing from outside of the organization the fresh perspectives. As I already described, it's often a big challenge for the middle levels of the organization. Now, activities which support it, it's open door policies when people formally have the right to go across the organization 2-3 levels up and talk to CEOs, board level, people from other departments. And there is element of the culture which says it's your right to go to someone else and ask for time, and his doors should be always open, right? The other thing is rewarding for ideas and behaviors. Usually these are the small things. In one of the companies, they had the golden banana pin. And origin of this was which was given to people by some innovative ideas, whatever size. Origin of that golden banana pin was that one day a young analyst sat at the board level doing some notes, and they were discussing about something, and they couldn't find the solution. And the young guy got the solution, but was not sure if we can say this to that group. But after the meeting, in the evening, let's say 5-6 p.m., he saw that the CEO is still in his office. He took the initiative, went to him, and told him about his solution. And the CEO was so much impressed that he wanted to reward him immediately with what he had on his desk. The only thing he had on the desk which he could give to that young analyst was a banana. So the guy got the banana, and later on they created this golden banana pin out of it, right? But it's an example of the immediate rewarding, which later on got into like a cohesive action. Rotations and the project assignments, learning from others. We should go to other departments. We should go to for rotations during vacation time, well, for supporting them the time when parents are on the leave connected to the pregnancy or to the childcare. So use these opportunities because it will bring a new stuff to what we do. Managers' evaluations. It's not that managers should evaluate employees. Employees should evaluate managers. This creates more equal terms for collaboration, and it allows managers also to get feedback and to understand how they are part of the solution and if they are on the risk of becoming part of the problem. Culture, org health audits, and these are like regular stuff done by many companies, and external engagements, which is sending people to do something else externally. So collaboration with universities, working on some industry groups. It's going for some external education. Well, supporting some hackathons, whatever. So doing things which exposes us for the problems which are external to our company. And later on, they can bring back a lot of ideas. They can bring back a lot of knowledge and inspiration. So now I would like to ask you to make the second pool, which will allow us to understand if these practices are common in your organizations. So please, so Pavel, if you could bring the pool on the screen, and we will ask the audience to select what applies. So that's a multiple choice question. Hello, is anybody there?
Yeah, we would like to encourage you to reply to this poll. Hopefully you see that on your screen. Yeah, okay, we see first replies. Thank you. And it's a multiple, so you can answer to all activities which are already implemented in your organizations.
So one comment, external engagements, they can be supported by the companies as the practices, organizational practices, but external engagements, this is something which everybody can do. You can work with some industry bodies, you can work in some government groups sometimes, you can work in whatever other external engagements. And that's really valuable thing. And I can see, for example, I work with energy companies, and I can see how different thinking. I can see different thinking from people who, for example, work in some industry working groups versus the managers who are pretty much focused on inside of the organization. So, so from that perspective, this is something which you can do regardless of the support of the organization. The other things require some support from the organization, primarily from HR department. Also, managers evaluation. You can sometimes develop a very simple set of questions to check kind of the pulse, right? How happy is the team working with you? And if you establish enough trust, allowing people to give you the feedback, not directly, but through anonymous tool, it will help you to manage your interactions with the team, because majority of managers create some problems not because they want to be tough or they want to do something for the employees, but because they are just not aware, right? So it's like identification of some important points, tipping points for the change. This what may come out of such evaluations. Okay, so let's move forward. We are going towards the end of our presentation already. So let's take a look at a couple of things, right? So we may, when we develop innovation, we may have some structures which support innovations internally, and we may also leverage some external structures. And companies create very often both types of structures. So internally, there are R&D labs, so dedicated teams focus on innovation. Very important element here is to make sure that these organizations are properly and regularly connected with the existing business groups. Because the greatest challenge I observed and I observe is when these labs and these dedicated teams well, just think of the future, just look for the novelties and do not have appropriate transfer of thinking, knowledge, inspiration, information to the organization. So when they come with an idea they want to execute, there is huge resistance from the organization. Other elements which I have that which I can see, these are like programs run regularly, and I've heard and I've seen from your first question answers that there are the people who already manage such programs. That's very, very good. Such things can be more done ad hoc as part of the workshops when we bring people, for example, during some trainings from different parts of the organization, and working together they may come with some ideas. Improvements very often come out of this, sometimes significant innovations as well. So tools which are also tools and skills which we can teach and we can learn. This is, for example, the design thinking or problem solving techniques, which helps with root cause identification of some connections, structuring our thinking. So there is a dozen, or well, there are dozens of different techniques, but they are worth to teach, because very often we focus on these soft skills, but we do not support in the required level these elements of support cognitive thinking. So these two primarily support the cognitive thinking. And external vehicles for driving or accelerating innovation, hackathons, contests. So we give the challenge to people from outside of the company. They bring different knowledge. They bring different perspective. They can execute, they can bring ideas or even execute some ideas better than we can with our internal perspective and internal resources. Incubators, when we give it a bit time, assign some resources to verify the idea, so to help with the incubation space. So incubators, accelerators goes towards more scaling of the companies, of the ideas. Very often companies do venture capital programs, and these are not like profit-oriented ventures, but these are the ventures focused on specific segments and challenges of the specific business, and looking for opportunities to bring some innovations, to test some innovations, or to find some targets for acquisition at the later stages. The company which is good at support for innovation and very often brought to the discussion is Google. They have this department working on these moonshots. So they think of very great ideas, like, I don't know, combating the cybersecurity crime, things referring to global communication, stuff like that. Google for startups. So the support for startups, which can be synergetic to whatever Google does, and AI camps, which are focused right now on acceleration of understanding and utilization of application of solutions based on artificial intelligence. So different approaches at different level of innovation processes. Now, going to some examples regarding technology, because in finance, technology is absolutely critical right now. I can see a couple of over the last years, right? So because that's not happening today, but it's the story of the previous years as well. I can see how much technology changed finance, right? So internet brought a lot of innovation from perspective of digital platforms, online banking, mobile banking. Analytics changed the way how processes are organized. Artificial intelligence is changing the way how financial organizations do scoring, marketing, anti-fraud verifications. AI helps contact with the customer from perspective of chatbots. Blockchain helps with elimination of this intermediate trusted party. Robotic process automation helps to integrate different part of processes in easy and quick way. Automation of some bothersome processes. So there is a lot of innovation happening here. What is very, very important is to understand how these technologies can be put in action, or where they bring some value. Because when we work in the organization, we may think, oh, cloud, putting data nobody knows where, this can be dangerous. But if we understand that there are different applications of cloud, private, public, hybrid, if we understand how cloud can be more controlled and regulated, if we know which legal regulations refer to cloud, we can be by far more comfortable and also brave in going towards solutions which leverages the value of the cloud. The same from perspective of like bringing the value of data, not only the data from our department, from our company, but also from other vendors. The example which I gave you regarding the insurance company, which basically collects the data from 12 or so in external sources and uses just 2 data points to prepare the offer for premium, which is the identification of the person and identification of the vehicle. Right now, artificial intelligence, I described. An interesting example is this digital fingerprints. We are all concerned with a lot of phishing attacks. We are all concerned with losing resources from our accounts. Digital fingerprints measures and observes and monitors like behavioral profile of the person. Everyone uses the system, has some habits where the person starts to look, how quickly the person moves the mouse, how types on keyboards, right? So the different interactions with the banking interface or financial interface allows to create unique profile of the person. And if a hacker or automated vehicle, automated hacker tool enters and access our accounts, it works with the interface in a different way. And immediately this can be blocked. This can ask for additional verification, and it can save our money and resources. So it's like a very, I would say, one of the very creative tool, which is very easy to use and creates a lot of the value for customers. And here I have the question to you. I would like to understand, because I can see that in finance, it's very common that technology is understood as the cornerstone of competitive advantage. I would like to understand and to what extent you are familiar with these technologies, that you can explain how it works. So if you have new employee or older employee and would like to explain how the technology works to decrease some fears of using technology, or if you would like to introduce something new and describe how it works. So if you are capable to explain how the technology works, and this is the final pool which we have. So please select the technologies which you can, which you feel confident and comfortable to explain to others.
And again, it's a multiple choice.
Multiple choice, yeah. Okay. So I can see that there is a little bit of resistance. So don't be afraid. But basically, I recommend, this is like this element of knowledge and learning, right? Understanding not the bits and bytes, but the general value, use cases, and the way how technology is applied, it can be very, very useful. And for example, at these studies, business AI, which I run for several years now, I have a lot of people from finance which come to the studies to understand what this the potential of the technology, how this can be applied, and what this can change. And RPA, robotic process automation, that's a very simple one. So I would recommend you to take a look at this because it's so easy with implementation and sometimes can be very, very powerful, and sometimes may save very quickly like dozen or hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I see you haven't clicked RPA. Make sure you take a look at this. It's worth doing. Okay, so let's go to the last slide. Okay. So building innovative teams, what we need to keep in mind. So first of all, we should work on trust and inclusion. That's the foundation of culture. That's the foundation of establishing proper foundations for the team. Then the second element, which is important, is this provide safety net for those who try new things. So make sure that if people try something, they are not punished, they are incentivized. That's very important, that people feel safe when they want to try new things. Now, your management style should go more democratic. So think how you may adopt your management style. And there are plenty of concepts. Okay. Turkish organization is one, right? The other one is fair process management. The other one is focused on grassroots leadership. And there are different ones coming. Well, the whole the whole concept of agile management. They are coming to make your management style more democratic. Now, it requires listening to employees. Listening very often requires time and trust. So make sure that you have the time which you spend with employees. Another element which is very much time dependent is allocate time for learning for your employees and for yourself. I saw the metrics which say that 15% of the time of the people who are successful are spent on learning. And learn also from periphery of your business. This is where more is happening. And there is this theory of strong links and weak links. Strong links, these are the links with those who are around. They usually can share a lot, can help a lot, but they have access to the same resources and the same knowledge. We learn and we get help from those who are on the periphery of our business because they have different perspective and they can do for us things which we do not know. So that's the value. Important thing is to establish processes because attitudes are great, culture is great, but it needs to be supported by the disciplined approach and be patient and persistent. This takes time. It doesn't come for free. So this element of iteration, trust, patience, persistent, ongoing support, that's the foundation for building innovative teams. And looking at the summary, appreciate all kinds of innovations, from small ones to big breakthroughs. Sometimes an idea which at the first glance is not really interesting can, after some rework, verification, iteration, can create foundations for a breakthrough. Remember that innovation can be forced and it can be encouraged and supported. So this element of culture is absolutely critical. Knowledge. In the today's world, knowledge and understanding is the same important as approach and attitude. Very often we underinvest this area. Existence of processes, that's the third element of our pyramid. Make sure you have it in place, and don't forget about the influence of the digital. This is one of the key factors driving the change in the current connected world. So being comfortable with technologies and understanding the overall technologies will help you innovate and bring new product, process, service, and business model innovations. That's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tomasz, for this thorough presentation. I think, we went through a number of items, what it requires to accelerate the innovation, what are the fundamentals, the cornerstones of innovations. You explained about common elements of innovation from the point of different types of innovation phases, which needs to happen, and also about the catalysts of innovation. How these catalysts actually support the innovation. I would like to give a chance from the audience to ask any questions, if you have any. Was everything clear, what has been explained by Tomasz, or do you have any related question which you currently observe in your organization and would like maybe to receive advice or answer from Tomasz based on his experience?
And if you would like also to get in touch with me later, I really encourage. After the previous sessions, there were, I think, 2 people who returned to me with some in one case a question, in another case it was like an idea of like additional discussion. And we followed up on both. So if you have anything later on, feel free, reach me on LinkedIn. There is an email there. You have also an email with the in the presentation. So do not hesitate. Write to me. I usually don't write back within 15 minutes, but 1-2 days I will be back to you and we can do a follow-up.
Well, thank you, Tomasz, for this kind offer. We have one question from Liliana. Criteria for prioritization among innovative ideas.
Okay, so a couple of examples of the criteria. It is how much time you need to develop something. So, for example, that you expect some element of product readiness within X months. If the product is not moving from one level of readiness to the other level of readiness in the long perspective, and you are getting the answers, well, we just need a little bit more improvement, we just need a little bit more time, probably it's not going to work. Another thing is how much resources you can invest into this. If somebody tells you it will be done, but we need next $10,000, next $20,000, that's usually very risky, because probably it shows that there are some uncovered issues in the idea, in the project they work on. So things like milestones and time, things like investments levels. What you can also give things like a number of customers with positive feedback. So you may set the metrics connected to external verification of the product, right? Because if somebody has the product and, for example, 5 customers signs up for piloting, that's probably a very good sign. If you have an idea which looks brilliant, but you go to and talk to customers, and finally you have one which in fact got some additional financial incentives for testing your idea, then I would say probably it's risky. So these 3, like quickly, I can take a look, and I can give you also another examples if you like later on. So Liliana, if you want to come back to me, I will give you more examples.
Thank you, Tomasz, for answering this question. Anybody else would like to ask, clarify anything from Tomasz? If there is no question, maybe last question from me, because this webinar has been focused on building innovative teams, and towards the end of the presentation, you also kind of summarize what is really important to have one team which accept and proceed with innovation. Maybe based on your experience, on your observations, what are the main obstacles preventing teams to innovate?
The most common issue is too much focus on current execution. So you say business today is critical. We need to deliver to this month's results. We need to deliver to this quarter. We need to do more. So we need to do 120%. That's not sustainable. So I understand there can be such short period of time when such approach is necessary. But when you are constantly living in kind of the crisis management, you can't innovate. So the most important element of, or the starting point for further build out, it is to allocate the time in the way that you can achieve what you need to achieve within, let's say, 80% of the time, or 85% of the time. And you have some buffer of the time which you invest in future development. And this is innovation, and this is bringing different perspective, this is learning, this is listening to customers, this is listening to employees. This is the time which goes beyond here, now, and bring more dollars now, right? So if I had one advice, is allocate some time and break out from this kind of the hamster rush, right? That you are like running like a hamster on the treadmill day after day without even 4 hours, half of the day for reflection.
Okay, thank you, Tomasz. I don't see any other questions or comments, so let me conclude this webinar. So thank you very much again, Tomasz, for all your preparations and delivery of this webinar. I hope and assume that it has been really, really fruitful and helpful for the people who participated. And thank you for your participation. And I hope to see you on other activities which Microfinance Center is organizing in upcoming days and months before the end of the year. And I would like to emphasize once again, we would appreciate very much if you, after you leave the webinar, complete the survey, which is really very short and brief and takes, very short time from your side, and wish you really a rest of the day in good mood, good thoughts coming up from this webinar. Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you very much for invitation, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you once again. Bye for.